Hello everyone and welcome to the One Stop Co-op Shop. This is Colin and today I'd like to do a new top 10 solo dungeon crawler list. Now I'm planning on doing a solo dungeon crawler and a solo adventure game list, just like I did about 2.5 years ago. Those are my two favorite genres of games, and during this quarantine time it's been a lot of what I've been playing. I've been having lots of fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you just a description of the game, tell you three things about if you like these three types of things, you're probably going to like this game. And then I'll tell you about three types of things that if you don't like those things, then you might not like the game. I'm going to do that for 10 games, and then at the end I'm just going to talk quick about 6 upcoming games that I'm super excited for. Let's jump in.
Heroes of Tennefer is a cooperative deck-building dungeon-crawling game for 1 to 4 players. You represent one of the 4 heroes and start out inexperienced with one single unique skill card. As you fight your way through dungeons filled with evil creatures, you'll gain loot in the form of cards that are added to your deck. Clear a dungeon of monsters and you will be rewarded by the villagers. If you can level up enough, you can defeat the boss at the end and win the game. Now, this game is for you if you're looking for a light push-your-luck game. The gameplay is you're going to draw 3 cards and then decide if you want to keep them or push your luck and discard them and draw 3 new cards. The catch is when you run out of your deck, you have to get out of the dungeon. So you don't want to push your luck too far because you won't have any cards left to actually complete the dungeon. But if you want to push your luck and find those cards that you need so you can defeat the enemy that you're facing, then you can. So that's kind of the fun part. You'll also like this game if you're looking for that light deck building. Every enemy will turn into a card that will go into your deck, and that can be super fun. So you know which enemies you want to defeat, and when they get in your deck and you draw them, then they'll do different things. Some of them will actually let you destroy your basic cards, because you start with a bunch of zeros. You want those out of there. Finally, this game is for you if you're looking for quick card play with lots of small decisions that make up your game. I mean, each time you're going to draw those 3 cards, you're going to have to decide, well, do I want to keep them or not? A lot of them will actually let you draw extra cards, and so you'll have to decide, well, if I keep this hand, but I can draw some more cards, what's left in my deck? Is it worth keeping? It's a nice, fun, simple puzzle. Now, this game is not for you if luck is an issue. I mean, card draws here can really hinder your gameplay. You can have a great deck, but you just happen to never draw what you need at the time that you need it. Also, I would say the game is a lot lighter on strategy. It's much more tactical because you're just going to be drawing those 3 cards and you decide whether to play them or discard them. That's pretty much all you have. And then finally, right now, the hero variety is only 4 heroes to choose from, and they each have 1 unique skill card. So that's pretty much it. Otherwise, it's going to feel pretty samey after a while. I am really excited for the expansion because the expansion is going to provide us with more heroes. Arena the Contest is a cooperative or competitive game, but in the cooperative mode, the players build a team of 4 heroes to travel the fantastic world of Teneris in order to solve an ancient mystery facing missions with different problems, hazards, and goals. Campaign cards present players with challenging events, requiring tough decisions that shape the course and outcome of the adventure and find its climaxes in the difficult dragon boss fights. So I'll say this game is for you if you like the ease of resolution. So you're going to choose 1 card, you're going to play it, and you're going to roll a d20, you're set to go. There's not a ton of things to do for each resolution of your characters, and that's why playing 4 heroes, I don't see that being a problem with this game at all. Your tactical decisions of what powers to use each turn can be quite fun because you're going to have 2 powers that when you play them, you lose them, but then they might give you a benefit for the rest of the game. And so you have to decide, well, do I want to do that now and then get that benefit for the rest of the game, or do I want to save it for that big attack against the boss? Lots of fun little choices. Finally, I found that it had really solid story for the cooperative mode. So playing the cooperative mode, I've played through 3 missions now, and I've really enjoyed it. I want to keep playing it. And to me, bringing in a good story really helps the gameplay as well. Now, I'll say this game is not for you if you are averse to dice rolling, and it's a single die with 0 mitigation. You have no re-rolls, essentially. You're going to be rolling a d20, and that's it. Sometimes you'll get to roll 2 dice and you take the better, or 2 dice and you take the worst result, but that's it. So yeah, it might not be for you if that is something that doesn't appeal to you. Also, I'll say that this game has less choices than some of the other games I have on here during your turn. It does mean it makes it easier to control 4 characters, but it also means that you're going to have pretty straightforward turns. Okay, I'm going to move up 2, I'm going to attack, I'll roll this die. Do I get above a 7? Great, I did a hit, do 15 damage. Great. That can be a lot of fun and create a great storyline, especially an emergent storyline, but it might not get those juices in your brain flowing as much as some of the other games on this list. Finally, this game is not for you if you can't control 4 heroes. The game is set up for 4 heroes, for solo or cooperative, so if you're playing the solo, you're playing all 4 heroes. And even though it's only 4 power cards, it still can be overwhelming because you also have to control the enemies. And during the campaign, you'll actually get more power cards, which is cool, but that also means you have more that you have to manage. I am really looking forward to the expansion of this, Tenacious Adventures, because it's an expansion specifically for co-op mode. They also have stuff for the competitive, but the main focus is co-op. Woohoo! I am excited to see that. Dragonfire is a cooperative deck-building game set within the world of Dungeons & Dragons. Players begin their adventure along the famed Sword Coast, then expand to the other locales across the Forgotten Realms, such as Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter, and Waterdeep, in future expansions. Along the way, players level up their characters, opening access to additional equipment, feats, and more. Now, I will say this game is for you if you're looking for the most tactical deck builder out there. Unlike most deck builders, you're going to be purchasing cards to your hand, you're going to have assist cards, and determining the most important enemy to defeat is the key to your success. How the enemies act is going to determine where you want to play your cards and which enemies you want to defeat first, and it's very tactical. You're going to want to take up this enemy before this enemy activates, all of that. It's a wonderful experience. It gives you a very similar feel of actually being on a board and having to attack certain enemies because they are closer to you or farther away, so I think they did a great job of that there. Also, the campaign, from what I've seen so far, looks pretty gosh darn good. If you're looking for a campaign-style card game, this is a good place to look. Finally, I will say if you are up for a challenge, this game can be challenging and sometimes can feel almost unbeatable. If you're up for that challenge and you're okay getting knocked down 4, 5, 10, 20, 20 times and being like, no, you know what, I'm going to put this back on the table and play it again, I highly recommend this. This is exactly what you want to play. Now, I will say this game is not for you if you don't like those random elements of the Dragonfire deck. That Dragonfire deck, when you're going to flip that card and all of a sudden it's going to do something completely detrimental to you and there's no way you could plan for it, that can be very frustrating. And also, although the decisions on attacking enemies is tactical and fun, I will say that purchasing cards can feel somewhat obvious and can feel like, well, I can actually decide the fate of the game. Oh, my lightning bolt card didn't come up, so because of that, I wasn't able to do the levels of damage that I needed to do. And then finally, this game, although I think the campaign looks great, it does seem to have a slow ramp up. What that means is all the cool stuff that you get to unlock doesn't happen until you get to 30 or 50 XP. That means you have to play a lot of games, especially if you lose a lot. And I wish that they didn't do that. I wish your first treasure that you got was super cool. Makes me think of Aeon's End, A New Age. That first treasure card you get is super cool. That's what it should be. But no, instead your first treasure cards are terrible. They're trash. Basically, you just don't even want to use them. So if that grind doesn't sound interesting to you, then this might not be the game for you. Terminator Genesis: Rise of the Resistance is a cooperative tactical board game for 1 to 4 players where you play as the leaders of the Resistance, liberating humankind from the clutches of the machines. Use the mission guide to select your scenario or play through in campaign mode. I will say this game is for you if you enjoy that dice placement mechanic. You'll roll your dice, you get to activate your hero with your 4 dice, placing them in different locations, and what it means is even if I roll 4 ones, I can still do cool stuff. I just don't get to do upgraded cool stuff. I can still activate my weapon, but I might not be able to re-roll the dice, something like that. So I do like that the dice placement mitigates poor dice rolls. I also find that the mission objectives in the game, so far I've played 5 missions out of the base box, and they have felt very different, and I love that. I love when a game that is mission-based actually feels like the missions are different from one another, because otherwise, why don't I just play the same mission over and over again? And this game does that to a T. So if you're looking for different missions and each one feeling different than the last, check this one out. Finally, this is for you if you like those tactical decisions. After you activate your specific character, you will then activate all enemies on the map of your color. And there's tons of juicy decisions of, oh, do I want to activate? Because if I activate, then all of my blue enemies are going to activate. And that means that you are going to get attacked, or my other character is going to get attacked by 3 enemies. But if I have that other character go first, and that other character can take those enemies out before they activate. Lots of fun little tactical decisions. There's also cover in the game, although I wish that the cover lasted a little bit longer. I usually see that the cover gets destroyed. But yeah, lots of fun decisions and cool special abilities on your heroes as well. well. Now, I will say this game's not for you if you're looking for quality. The quality of minis, the cards, the tokens, the board, it's all subpar. I would say that they look worse than almost Monopoly tokens. Also, if you don't like dice, even though you do have the dice placement, all of the resolution of your attacks are going to be with these damage dice, and 2 out of the 6 sides are going to be failures. And so it's going to be annoying. If you don't like the resolution through dice, you're still going to have that here, and that could be something that would actually steer you away from this game. And then finally, if you're looking for some sort of engaging AI, this isn't really the game for you. Most of the enemies are very straightforward. They're just going to move, get in range, and attack you. That's all they're going to do. There are a couple bosses, and the bosses are cool, but you don't see them in every scenario, and even them, you're going to roll a d6, and it'll determine what they're doing. It's not like it's a smart AI. So if you're looking for a smart artificial intelligence to go against, this might not be the game for you. Hellboy, the board game, is a cooperative experience in which players face off against some of the comic's most famous foes. You can play up to 1 to 4 characters, take control of iconic BPRD members such as Hellboy, Ape Sapien, Roger, and the Homunculus, then explore gothic locations and uncover ancient artifacts. I will say this game is for you if you really enjoy clever dice mechanics. Using the 4 different levels of dice and upgrading them and downgrading your dice during the game is what keeps bringing me back to this game. I just love how this mechanic works, and it provides you with that agency on those skill checks that you don't normally get. Normally you have a skill check, you roll dice, and you go, oh, well, that's what it is. But here you can go, well, I'll spend that action to boost up my dice rolls so I'm more likely to get more successes. I love those ideas, and I love how that interacts. And if you've got enemies in your space, it'll reduce them, so you've got lots of things to consider. I also think if you like this theme, you're going to love the game. I just started reading the comics, and the theme is done incredibly well in the game. You can feel the story in the game itself. And finally, if you're looking for a game that has boss fights, good boss fights, this game provides that cinematic moment in every mission. You will always go against some sort of big bad, either on their terms, if you fail to complete objectives before Doom hits the impending Doom track, or you can do it on your own terms. I would just suggest checking out my playthrough and you'll see how I fared against my big bad. Now, I will say this game's not for you if you're looking for a campaign. This is mission-based, there's no carryover of campaign items, it's a one and done. But what's nice about that is you can play any of the 6 missions out of the base box in any order. Also, I will say the non-Kickstarter box only has 6 missions, and although that's good, you're spending a lot of money for those 6 missions, and they can vary, but after you've played it once, you kind of know a little bit about what's going on. So I don't know if it's really worth the cost. You might want to wait till it goes on sale to get the non-Kickstarter, or splurge and find a way to get the Kickstarter box. And finally, the randomness in the game. So if you don't like dice, you're not going to like this game. There's this skull icon that's on the effect die, which, by the way, I love the effect die and how it works, but it can be such a pain when you set yourself up to perfectly take out that boss and then you roll the skull, cancels everything. It doesn't cancel everything. It cancels your highest hit die, which usually is a lot of the damage that you're doing. And that can just happen randomly. It's 1 on every 6 sides. So that is something where if dice resolution is going to really tick you off, this might not be the game for you. In Gears of War, the board game, you must fulfill one of the 7 randomly constructed missions and support your fellow cogs as your team engages an unflinching enemy in furious white-knuckled firefights. Only through teamwork and communication will you gain a tactical advantage, completing your mission and striking a blow for humanity. I will say this game is for you if you love hand management. I love the fact that my cards are my health in this game. It sort of makes thematic sense as you do actions and you're likely to make yourself more vulnerable to attacks, so if I'm doing an action, I'm losing some of my health potential. But with this, the reactions really are what make this game for me. You can spend more cards to react to the other cogs that you're playing, but once you do that, you're going to risk yourself bleeding out. So you have to make those decisions of, do I really want to play this card? Do I not? And you only get to draw 2 cards around. So if I play 3 cards using 2 as reactions, I'm not going to get a full mid of cards the next round. So you need to be very careful with the cards in your hand. Of all the games that are on this list, I think the line of sight and cover are incredibly well done in this game. Probably the best that I've ever seen. and it really makes the game feel like it's one of the most tactical games that I've played from a co-op perspective. Many of the different locations will have areas where you can drop into cover, and then you've got areas where you have line of sight from that area in cover. You get additional bonuses for defense, but so do the enemies, and you have to find ways to mitigate all of that. It's great. Finally, if you're looking for mission variety, I feel like the standalone missions feel very different with the random map layouts, and I can replay missions many different times and have different experiences. Now, I will say this game's not for you if you're not okay with brutal fights. What I mean by that is ammo's hard to come by. The AI is tough and can screw you over quickly. The event cards that you're drawing for the AIs can totally screw you over as well. If you want a relaxing dice chucker, check out Arena the Contest. Don't play this game, okay? Every die roll in this game is gonna be tense because you might be spending that ammo to do that big attack, but what if you don't get enough successes? You didn't take them out, you know? Ugh. Now, I will say this is also not for you if you're going to try and buy this at a local game store, and that's because it is technically out of print. It's hard to come by. You might need to shell out some bucks to get it. I was able to get a pretty cheap copy, but that doesn't always happen. Check BGG. Make sure to tell your friends you're interested in it. A lot of times you'll see someone is selling it. And finally, I do sometimes feel like it has slightly longer play times. That's because you have to be very methodical in your movements, which is great because you can't just run in there guns a-blazing because you're going to get blazed. But the problem with that is sometimes you can get pinned down, and so it'll be going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and you're not moving and progressing that much, and so the game can get a little bit sluggish. So if that doesn't sound appealing to you, then this might not be the game for you. Galaxy Defenders is a sci-fi cooperative tactical battle game in which 1 to 5 different characters fight together against an oncoming alien menace. Each player takes control of one or more agents with unique powers to defend the planet from the alien invasion. Gameplay revolves around a tactical combat system using custom 10-sided dice. Each player sequentially plays his agent turn and then one alien turn. If you can complete the mission, you win the game. Now, I will say this game is for you if you enjoy that tactical combat. Of all the games on this list, this one has the most emphasis on your actual movement on the board. Where you're located in respect to the different aliens and your fellow agents will likely determine the success or failure of your mission, which is super cool. You're going to find the most important thing you can do is move in this game. Where am I going to move? How am I going to move out of range or in of range or get up close to this Xenobeta to push them away? Stuff like that. It's great. I also think a huge positive of this game is its AI. How the AI works is wonderful. In order for you to be successful in this game, you need to understand how they work and how to manipulate their weaknesses to the best of your abilities. Also, those aliens are as tough as nails. I've never felt more accomplished in a game when I just take out a single enemy than in this one, and I love that. Every time you take out an enemy, you're going to have that slight cheer of excitement. Finally, the choices in this game, there's so many choices while you're playing. When I get reinforcements, do I go for the immediate benefit or do I play the long game? Should I go for that weapons cache that is out in the open or should I stay in cover? Do I move up far enough to take a shot at this alien, likely doing very little damage because they all have great defense, or stay in cover but then it takes me longer to get my objective and more events happen? All these great choices, and they're all very small and tweakable, but then as you're doing them and as you're playing the game, you can feel how important it is, those actions that you're taking on the board. Now, I will say this game is not for you if you don't like dice. Dice. Dice for attacking, dice for defense. It can just get overwhelming and quite tiresome at some points. A game farther up this list fixes that a little bit, and we'll talk about that in a second. Second of all, the campaign. If you're looking for a really engaging campaign, I wouldn't pick this one. It has a good campaign play. I mean, you've got different items that you're going to be purchasing, you can get skills, you're going to level up, but the story isn't really there, and the cohesion of the missions, it's okay, it's not great. So I would say that there's a lot of better campaigns out there, including some that are actually on this list itself. And finally, let's talk about the AI. It's got to be challenging to design an AI system that's controlled by the game, but the players have to resolve. There are many times in this game where it's unclear what the best move is for the AI, and a lot of times you're doing that to circumvent something that you've just done, and I don't particularly like doing that because you feel like you want to be smart in the game, right? So you're going to do these different actions to be smart, and then all of a sudden you have to control the aliens to be smarter than you because they know exactly what you're thinking. So that can turn some people off, and it did turn me off a little bit initially, but once you kind of figure it out, it works okay, but just know that that's there. And if that's something that's going to bother you, then this might not be the game for you. Dungeon Alliance is a deck-building, dungeon-crawling miniatures adventure game that allows players to send 1 to 4 different teams of adventurers into perilous dungeons in search for experience and treasure. There are adventure packs now, which provide a multi-quest, non-linear story that is used with a campaign mode as well. You'll always control 4 heroes with 1 deck in this game. Dungeon Alliance is for you if you really enjoy that hand management. Think Mage Knight. It's very similar to Mage Knight. When you play cards during your turn, they're going to stay out on the board for the round, so you're depleting your deck as you play them. Then, while you're purchasing cards, they'll go on top of your deck and you'll get them right away, and you're going to have to purchase cards that work for either all of your heroes or 1 hero in particular. That means then you're going to have to try and make sure to get your cards in your hand at the right time to activate the right heroes. It's super fun. It's a fun little puzzle. I really love that. The hero combinations in the game are super fun because all heroes play very differently. They all have different starting cards that are very particular to them. So your starting deck of 12 cards, it's not like a regular deck builder where those are basic. No, these are going to all be tailored to your specific heroes. And then you're going to be purchasing cards to add to your deck to make them even stronger. It's super fun, and each time I've played, I felt like I've had a different experience. Finally, if you enjoy deterministic gameplay, this is for you. This is your one game on this list. Okay, this is the most Euro-type dungeon crawler on here. If you like that type of play like Spirit Island, Mage Knight, even Renegade, this is totally for you. This is minimal dice rolling, all the things are deterministic, there's 1 die in the game that you hardly ever use. Yeah, it's great, it's great. Now I will say this game's not for you if you're not looking for a puzzle. I would say the game feels more like a puzzle than a dungeon crawler, so if you want something like a hack and slash, this one's not for you. Go check out some of the others on this list. Also, although Andrew came out with those adventure packs, I still don't feel like it's the best campaign-style game. There's lots of better campaign-style games, so if you're looking for a campaign, you might want to check something out, some other game out. And then finally, the component quality. The cards, they're very wordy just because there's no keywords on them, essentially. Instead, it's a lot of text, which can be nice, but it can also be overwhelming. Also, the cards aren't the greatest quality. The boards aren't the greatest quality. The minis they're okay. They're not wonderful. And the tiles themselves, they're just completely bland. And it's kind of a bummer because I think this game would have shined if it had a little bit more flavor in the tiles and in the cards themselves. So if you're looking for a game that's going to pop on the table, this might not be it. Fireteam Zero is a cooperative game for up to 4 players who must cut a path through an endless swarm of deadly monsters in order to discover and defeat the ultimate evil behind them. This game is for you if you're looking for a simple rules dungeon crawler. This is by far the simplest rules of any of the ones on this list. They took out all those extraneous rules and they give you just 2 options a turn. You're going to move and do an action. Oh, it's so nice to be able to just pick up this game after not playing it for, let's say, even a month and not have to worry about 100 different rules. If that's something that interests you and you just want to be able to dungeon crawl, take out some enemies, complete some objectives, have a short little mission, check this one out. Also, the card play in the game is super fun. The reactions are second to none. In order to defeat that insane boss at the end, you're going to have to work to your fullest extent, cooperating with yourself if you're playing it solo with multiple characters, doing reactions to your different attacks. And I will say it can be challenging to track it all solo, but once you get used to the different characters and the different cards, it can be so fun and satisfying to find ways to get your 8 dice to roll to try and take out those big elite enemies or the boss itself. Oh, it's just utterly satisfying to blow those enemies to smithereens. Finally, I love the campaign in this game, and how that works is it's only a 3-mission campaign. It's not too long, it's not too short. You're going to add some new cards to your deck as well as gain more focus abilities, but it doesn't overwhelm you with additional items to track, and then the enemies also themselves will get stronger. That first mission, you'll just have base enemies, then you'll have elite enemies, and then you'll have the boss on top of it. You can just feel how much stronger you are in Mission 3 compared to Mission 1. I highly recommend checking out my 3-mission playthrough I have on this channel, and you'll see how that works. It is just great. Love it. Now, I will say this game's not for you if endless spawns annoy you. The game does very little to give you a benefit to blow that fetch's head off on the board, okay? They're just going to spawn back each round. So if you want a game that when you kill enemies, you're going to gain loot, and then you're going to take that loot and you're going to level up your character, yeah, that's not this game, okay? This game's not about killing enemies. It's about completing those objectives. And then I'll move to my next, this is not for you, and that's the recon cards. In most games, you're going to be searching spawn points looking for these recon objective cards. It's great, but a lot of these can be pretty brutal, and you'll get there, you'll reveal it, and you'll get ambushed, and there's nothing you can do about it, right? Sometimes it can seem almost unfair. If you don't like it when a game will kick you even when you're down, this game might not be for you, because it is hard as nails, okay? It's hard. So be ready for that. And finally, you do have your cards as your health, so once again, you are almost incentivized to not play cards and just move across the board. So if you want to be able to do huge, big attacks all the time and take out enemies and feel super strong and powerful, this might not be for you, because a lot of times, that best move in the game will be to not attack, but instead to just move and soak the attack so that you're getting closer to the objective that you need to get to. For me personally, I love that, but I know that about the game, and I know that that's what I'm getting, so make sure that that's what you want before you decide to buy this one. Sword and Sorcery is an epic fantasy cooperative board game in which 1 to 5 different characters fight together against the forces of evil, which are controlled by the game system itself. Each player controls one or more heroes, legendary characters brought back to life by powerful sorcery. Weakened by the resurrection, they grow stronger during their story-driven quests. By acquiring soul points during battles, the heroes' souls regenerate, restoring their legendary status with multiple powers, magic, and soul weapons, and powerful artifacts. I will say this game is for you if you're looking for a complex AI, and it is what totally makes this game amazing for me. But you have to take the time to understand the enemies in order to manipulate it, in order to activate it, and also to be able to feel comfortable playing it. If you enjoy exploiting priority targeting, range, attack, damages, all of that type of stuff, this is totally your game, because what you're going to be able to do is see what those enemies will be able to do, and then you can try and mitigate that by moving around the board respectively, or heck, just trying to kill the enemy before he activates. Next, I just love how this game combines deterministic damage and dice damage. You can tell that this is Galaxy Defenders 2.0. Many attacks for the heroes have automatic damage to mitigate that poor luck, and non-red enemies have no dice that they're rolling for defense. That means you don't have these endless I'm shooting back and doing 1 point of damage and then they're doing 1 point of damage like you get in Galaxy Defenders, which can be super fun but can turn into a slog. This game, it's much more about, well, I know I have these two hits here automatic. I'm going to roll 2 red dice. I'm most likely going to get 4 hits with this. Is that enough for me for what I want to do? I love that. I love how they made those adjustments. And I do also really appreciate that only red and above enemies roll for defense. So that way I'm not rolling nearly as many dice when I'm playing this game. I also really appreciate that they added the focus action in this game. There are so many times where you don't use your action in Galaxy Defenders. In Sword and Sorcery, that's not the case. You always can use that action to focus, get that +1 damage, which might be just what you need to take out that red orc warrior before he comes and kills you. Also, I love the powers. I love how as you play, you're going to gain these powers, and then when you use them, they have to cool down, so you can't be spamming these hugely powerful powers all the time. The more powerful they are, the longer they're going to take to cool down, so you have to be very smart on when you use them and how you use them, and effectively using them is how you're going to win the game. And finally, it's the campaign. With everything out, with the first and the second campaign, I think there's around 14 to 15 missions plus some side quests to complete, and it includes fighting a 5-headed dragon at the end. Yeah, I am so excited. You guys, I've been so into this game recently. I've recorded the last quest 3 and 4 that are on the channel. I'm hoping to do more. So yeah, this game is totally for me right now. I'm loving it. Hopefully this helps you see if this is for you. I will say though, this game is not for you if you don't like tons of little rules. This is like the exact opposite of Fireteam Zero. So many little rules. The game does have a great rulebook. There's a lot of people that complain about it. I personally think it's great, but there's just so many moving pieces it can be overwhelming. I highly recommend watching a playthrough or 2 before you jump in on this one so you get the gist of how the game works. Also, I will say the cost of the game is expensive. It does look beautiful on the table, but that comes with plastic miniatures, the plastic doors themselves, the plastic chests. All of that costs money. So it's a very expensive game, so watch out for that. And finally, the setup time. The game takes a minimum for me of 15 to 20 minutes to set up and tear down. So if that is going to mean that you're not going to get it out and play it, it's maybe not for you. I have a table that I can leave it sit out on, so it makes it so much easier to just play a bunch of missions in a row, and that's the way I would recommend playing it. If you're going to take it down every night, this might not be for you. I wanted to mention 6 games that I'm super excited for that I haven't yet had a chance to play. Hopefully might make some of these lists. So first, there's Reichbusters Project Vril. This is a World War II fighting Nazis while using stealth and card play similar to Gloomhaven. Steve loves it. I just got a copy. I'm super excited to get that to the table. Also, the Heroes of Tennefer, the Second Curse, that expansion. More heroes, more everything, more dungeons. Yeah, totally gonna make that game even more replayable. The Tenerius Adventures expansion that I mentioned before for Arena the Contest, that's going to flush out the co-op mode, and it's going to make it bigger, it's going to make it better, it's going to give more options. I love that. Oathsworn Into the Deepwood. Oh, this looks great. This is like a narrative and then boss fight game where your decisions during the narrative portion of the game will affect the boss fights that follow. And then the boss fights are going to be super highly tactical, great card play where you're going to have like this battle cooldown mechanic. Oh, it looks super fun. It also looks fiddly and lots of rules. So I'm going to put this more in like the sword and sorcery range, but I think it's going to be awesome as long as I can get through all those rules. Next, there's Alter Quest. So this one has a stagnant map. You're always going to use the same map. It's going to have card play very similar to the Street Masters, but it's in a fantasy world, and it's got those awesome exploding dice mechanics that I love in Warhammer Quest. Super excited for that one. It looks fun, and that's a Sadler's game, so I'm excited for that. Finally, there's Diceborn Heroes. So if this game ever does ship to me, I don't know, I backed it, who knows when. The game looks like a fun dungeon delver with some unique ways to level up your characters and work together through dice placement, and then you'll take the cards and you'll level up your little heroes. It looks really fun, light, enjoyable. One day I hope I might get my copy. If I do, I'll make sure to put something on the channel. I know Mike has a playthrough of it as well, so yeah, that's another one I want to check out.
And that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for joining the channel. We appreciate all the comments, the likes, the subscriptions, and we just can't wait to hear from you. Tell me about your top 10.